I've witnessed people who have had the tagline in their bio, producer, engineer. And we were in the room with some RCA executives and some people from Pixar and some people from Columbia. And there were some people in the room that were not ready. They were not ready. They asked them, what records have you produced and what records have you mixed? And the response was, oh, I haven't touched anything yet. I'm just getting my feet wet. You know what I'm saying? And and they're like, why are you in the room? So this cliche stuff that you hear people saying, perfect your craft, practice. No, you really do, because this is the age where people are being exposed.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of On the Mic. I go by the name of Keith Keys, and on this episode, we have a gentleman with us who is a music producer. He's an engineer. He's a musician. And I will get into how I first found out he was a musician later on in the conversation. But he's like a musician. He has done tracks for a lot of icons in the gospel industry, such as Dorinda Clark Cole, all the Clarks, basically, Timothy Wright, Kim Burrell, Judith McAllister, Beverly Crawford. The list goes on and on. Norman Hutchins. This brother is very talented. He has a lot of knowledge, a lot of understanding that he can bring to the music community, to the musician community, to the engineers, to the producers, just to everybody and their grandmother who makes music. So I want to bring to the stage none other than the one and only Yaahn Hunter Jr.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Just honored to be on here, man, and I appreciate that humbling intro, bro. And to piggyback off the intro, I've been blessed to play for those phenomenal artists, and more on the production side. We'll get into more detail in a little bit, but I did want to clarify that I did accompany all of those phenomenal artists that he mentioned. And we can talk about the production and the records and stuff like that in just a few. I know my man wants to. I'm gonna let him have his way. This is his show and all that good stuff. But I appreciate it, bro, and I'm humble.
Yeah, first off, let me ask you real quick. Music, how did you get into music? What was the starting point? What are the things that kind of led up to you getting to where you are now?
Honestly, my parents. I mean, my father being a keyboardist, and he was the first cat I've ever seen to produce anything. I saw it up close. Um, he still has a little studio set up in his office, but I watched him record as a kid, and that kind of was like my introductory into music and the production side. My mom as well, she's a music teacher, and she teaches at the college level as well as high school. So music has just been in my family for many years, and of course pops being a pastor and being brought up in his church. So all of that, man, just being around music in church and at home was like my stepping grounds, man.
So the funny thing is, so the first time, and I didn't notice this, but going through your YouTube channel, seeing all of the things that you do, and I stumbled across a video that I seen 15 years ago, 20
So
years, something like that. And I had a nostalgic moment for a second, and it took me back. I said, wait a minute. I think I remember this exact clip.
Oh
And you
wow.
were playing the drums on Gospel Chops.
Yeah, yep.
Uh,
Yeah.
so that was pretty. And it just clicked, and I'm like, yo, this is that same guy. And I'm like, and he looks the same too. I'm like, and he's killing
Yeah.
it still, So I remember you way back when you were playing on Gospel Chops, and I'm
Man.
just like, okay, yeah, so I definitely gotta get him on. So like, how was that like growing up, like during that era before like this, before YouTube was kind of what it is now? And gospel chops, even that whole they took over kind of when it came to
Yeah.
the visual aspect of musicians on display, showing exactly what they could do. So tell me a little bit about that.
It was all in house. I was just I got my shot to play at convocation in our jurisdiction in Church of God in Christ, Northern First jurisdiction under Bishop Galbraith. And around that time, I think it was 2014. It was my official shot. Like, they let me play drums. They actually let me play and stay on the drums, and it was humbling experience. And the guy at the time, Gerald Forrest, shout out to you, bro. And he was doing all of the media for Northern First. So the DVDs, the VHS tapes, he was the guy, he was the camera guy. And so he started his own venture, Gospel Chops. And so he was at one of our state rehearsals. The final rehearsal before the convocation actually started in June. And he was like, yo, bro, I don't know if you've seen, launched Gospel Chops. I got Eric Moore on there. He kicked it off. And I was like, absolutely. So he was like, man, I'd love to get some footage of you, get a, short little tutorial if you could. I said, absolutely. And it literally went down right in between. So we had rehearsal. We had a break in between, and then they did like a pre-musical kind of thing just to get everyone on one accord and all that kind of stuff. So it was right before the concert that night that we did the tutorial segment. But what I didn't know was he was actually recording during the musical that night. And so the opening clip of us doing I Am Healed was from the musical segment. So it was like an inside job. I had no idea it would turn out to be what it was. You know what I mean? Like you said, it's before YouTube and media. I just figured, he had a camcorder, stuff like that. And anyway, long story short, it just ended up, it went viral. And I remember I saw him at my dad's church in Richmond. And he came through. He said, hey, man, you remember the video we did? I said, yeah. He said, I think it's got like 300,000 views. I said, huh? 300,000 views, pre-YouTube. I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah, people in New Zealand and people all over the world are seeing you, man. Like, I was like, wow, man. So that's just how I got started. And that's my side of the story, pretty much.
So did that put the battery in your back? Did that like propel your career, or like starting off, you're like, okay, bet I'm doing this for real now. People know my name now. I gotta do it.
It was then no. I was still playing basketball and baseball at the time. And I think around that time, I think I was done with baseball and I got into basketball. And so, yeah, I was focused on sports and I was still trying to figure everything out. I wasn't quite there yet, but it definitely was just a moment. I guess coming up in the Bay Area, shout out to all my Bay Area people out there, Richmond, Oakland, y'all know what it is. It's just a mentality that we have like from the Bay. It's like we're super chill. I'm pretty sure you guys can catch the vibes right now, like just super laid back, super chill, because it's like, in the Bay, you come out here, you chill. You might, catch an A's game if you're into that, 49ers, the Raiders at the, they move now. But my point is like, it's just like it's just a laid back kind of town. And unfortunately, a lot of, crime and stuff, has happened through the years in certain areas. But for the most part, being in a church scene, we're all just kind of chill, laid back, and just kind of, just enjoy what we can do, and we have fun when we come together.
Cool. So let me ask you this: being a musician, you grow up in church. That's kind of like where you get your start, especially practice and playing time, and the community aspect, the communal aspect that plays a part with being a musician, which is super important for any musician out there, especially if you're a kid growing up playing. When was the point to where you were like, okay, I play the drums, I'm a musician, but how do I now transition that into actually being a producer? Like, what was the thing that was like, okay, I need to go here with it? Because we have a lot of musicians especially a lot of people, a lot of drummers, a lot of keyboard players, people just in general, they understand they have a gift they can play as a
Hmm.
musician, and then they start to dibble and dabble into stuff like tracking drums here and there. But what was the main thing for you that was like, yo, I'm a producer now and I kind of want to go that direction?
I guess like to go a little bit to the past and then fast forward to the present. During that time, during the Gospel Chops time, I was fiddling around with the keyboard because I was actually making beats on the under, and I was doing it, kind of like to myself. It was like a hobby, you know what I'm saying? And the more and more I started digging into like drum machines, and my dad had a Dr. Rhythm 880 and a Ensoniq SQ1. A lot of my old heads, y'all know what that stuff is.
Yeah.
Um, he would MIDI that stuff up, and I remember watching him control the drum machine with the keyboard, or vice versa. He's like, "Yeah, this is MIDI," and so I would imitate what he was doing, and my tracks were garbage back then, and I didn't know how to play keys, so the only thing I knew how to do is to program a drum machine from being a drummer. So once I kind of got it locked in how to program in a drum machine, I was like, all right, I need some chords or something, or a bass line or a melody or something to go with this so I could have a full song. So I started picking up the keys, and um, you know, uh, some phenomenal guys like Laren from the Bay. Shout out to you. I think he moved to LA now. He showed me my first set of chords, which was "It's Love" by Jill Scott, and it's like these minor seven or major seven inversion chords, and I transposed those chords manually just by figuring it out like a video game. Like, oh, these are how you. Oh, it looks like that. And I just memorized the shapes, and I started formulating chord progressions. And from then, it was no turning back. And so then I got into full on playing keys, and then started playing keys at my pop's church, playing organ specifically. Once my brother-in-law, shout out to him, Kellen Young, he's back playing at my dad's church now, but at the time he had leveled up and played at a bigger church, and so I ended up playing organ at pop's church. And so from there, went to Berkeley and all that, and it wasn't until I think it was my senior year in high school, I was like, nah, I want to be a producer. Like, which is why I went to Berkeley, got into the music production engineering program. And I think it was 2011, my junior year, before I was getting ready to graduate. It was like, yo, I don't want to gig no more like that. I don't want to be at all the concerts no more. I'm not fighting nobody to play for no artist. I don't want to do none of that. I want to be the producer that's behind the songs that everyone else was fighting to play for. Because I understood, like, and it's not the case for everybody, but for me it was. I finally realized from my destiny, it wasn't going to be an artist was going to fly in town at the convocation or some big musical. They heard me play keys at the musical or something, or I played for them, and then they fly me out to Detroit or somewhere to produce a record. Like, I finally figured it out. Like, that's not how it's going to happen. And so in 2012, after I graduated, I moved back to California from Boston. It was then that I was like, no, seriously, I meant what I had sought out to do. And I started saying no to gigs out here, and I started to focus on production. I was blessed because I was living with my parents, so you're not worried about a whole bunch of making a whole bunch of money at the moment, fresh out of college. But I was like, you know what? If I'm gonna take a window, this is gonna be it. And so I was like, I'm gonna play in church, played at 3 churches, and then I spent majority of my time mastering production. So I learned how to produce pop, R&B, hip hop. I deleted all of my gospel knowledge, chords, and musicianship. I deleted all of that, and it was like, no, let's learn how to make records. And so from then, it was just no turning back.
Wow. All right. So let's pause right here for a second. So you went to Berkeley. So for everyone who's trying to get deeper into production, from your perspective, because I talk to a lot of people who actually been to Berkeley and been to other schools as well. And there's definitely different takes on the schooling aspect as far as production is concerned. Do you feel as if it is a necessary step for those who want to get deeper into production, or do you feel as if the things that you learned you could have learned without actually going to a school like Berkeley?
For me, I think that's such a dope question because I think it has to do more so with timeline. During my timeline, we didn't have TikTok. YouTube wasn't what it was like it is now.
Mm.
So for someone like me in my time, it's like because I'm a millennial, I'm 30. I'm gonna be 31 next month in January. So I'm like a mid late millennial. So my path sort of required me to go to school because I didn't have the technology that Gen Z has. So for me, yes, it was a necessity, and it definitely propelled me. I definitely did a lot of the core work on my own. You know, you got to come with you go to Berkeley with something. That's why they let
Right.
you in the first place. You're not coming there from scratch, like just picking up the keyboard for the first time or whatever. So you're coming with the sauce already, and they just refine you and shape you into to be a real well-rounded musician and producer in your own right because they teach you so much stuff and you become musically aware of everything that you're doing, which I think is definitely given me a leg up for the generation after me. I dare say Berkeley is not a necessity unless you're going there for a specific purpose. And without that specific thing being acquitted or acquitted, you know, it's kind of pointless to go if you don't have that goal in mind. I mean, you can connect with musicians all over the world on TikTok now. I mean, it's insane. But for my time, I didn't have TikTok. And Instagram had just switched and had taken legs, I believe, in 2010. And Instagram just became a photo based app, you know, mobile app, and it didn't have video yet. So I think for me, I wouldn't take it back. I couldn't take it back because I
Yeah.
wouldn't have met all those people. So yeah.
So let me ask you this. You growing now as a producer, working with the people, being on the tracks that you have been able to be on, and just working with the caliber of artists that you are able to work with, what are the type of intangibles or the things that you think every producer kind of should have if they want to actually work with more people, or if they actually want to get to a different room of clientele, or if they just want to level up in their production altogether? What do you say are kind of the things that a producer needs to have in order to get there?
That's a great question, man. I think versatility and I think an identity within that versatility is kind of a contradicting
Mm.
statement. But I think once you find, like I said, I just, you know, I'm just getting ready to make 31 next month. And is I feel like it's not until now where I really kind of found like who I am and I'm comfortable with my flaws and what I don't do and what I can do and everything like that. And I think like the sooner you can get to that place, the more life you live, that's going to contribute to a lot of the intangible stuff you're talking about. And developing a lot of it in private is crucial.
Mm.
I was on Instagram Live talking about this the other day, and someone was asking me about, um, building and development, like, how to be prepared for situations. I'm like practicing in private and not showcasing certain things until you're ready for the repercussions of whatever it is you're showcasing. So if you say I'm a beat maker, or if you say I'm a producer, a certain artist one day is going to see that and they're going to expect you to know certain foundation things. You can't come in there trying to figure out stuff. And so that's another intangible. Like my results are shown publicly, but the work has been done in private. You know what I mean? And Like I said earlier, like I think every producer should dibble and dabble with a variety of genres to find their sound and find that melting pot of like, oh yeah, and there's certain producers that I listen to that's on TikTok and Instagram, and I'm like, yeah, they listen to a lot of K Tronada, yeah, they listen to a lot of Boy Wonder, yeah, they listen to a lot of No ID, and but I can tell like they have their own identity within that. And so I think like finding that inspiration from a successful producer, that something about what they do works, something about what they've done works. You emulate that, and you find this beautiful place to be in. Um, the second to add to that is people skills, communication skills. That's another intangible, like, skill set that you need. If you can't communicate with people, that's a big problem.
Mhm.
Because working in the industry and working with artists, like when I started working with the Walls Group, communication was key because we did everything virtually. I wasn't in the room, so I had to make sure to communicate, with Daryl, when we were coming up with Friend of Me, like, okay, what are you looking for? What's the format? What are we trying to do? Like, oh, okay, you didn't like this bridge, you want another bridge. Okay, cool. What type of bridge are you know what I'm saying? Like, be able to pick his brain and be able to, nail it out the park. So when I sent him a revision for the bridge, he was like, send the files. We're good. But that couldn't have happened if we didn't have good communication skills. So kind of wanted to tie that into like a real life scenario. We mentioned earlier about like placements and stuff. And that's how I got that placement, was through the internet, through Instagram. Posted a video of me vibing, tagged them in it, like, yeah, this got the Walls Group vibe, and it just, the rest was history. But it was communication from that point on that went from it being a cool vibe on Instagram to it actually being on the Walls Group record.
Well, that's dope. So I'm not trying to beat a dead horse because all on my channel I stress the word communication so much, and
Yes, sir.
so many opportunities have happened because I can complete a sentence, or I can just send a proper email, or
Exactly.
call somebody up and actually say hello. So I'm not going to beat a dead horse, but you did say you did say something that kind of segue me into this next part. You are a man that can be found, so you have social media, you know how to get yourself out there. You just gave a great example to how you were able to collaborate with the Walls Group and with Daryl Walls. So let me ask you this: to somebody who's trying to learn more about, hey, how do I get myself out there? How do I actually get people to look at me? What are
Mm.
some of the things that kind of led you up to that point, to that conversation with the Walls Group, to even have them look at you? Because everybody's dope nowadays,
Yeah.
everybody, and the
Yeah.
kids nowadays, they play different than I did when I was their age, so
Yeah.
everybody's dope nowadays. But what are the things that you kind of learned that sets you apart? Just like, hey, this is how I market myself, this is how I brand myself, this is how I get people to see me. What are some of those things that you do?
I think back then, I had a different focus, and it was nothing wrong with that grind. And I guess somewhere deep inside, I still have that producer's dream. Just this, man. I got this vibe, man. I wonder if like a Drake or a big artist, I don't know, like a Cardi B or like a big person. Like everybody has that producer's dream, and so back then, that's what I was seeking. I was seeking opportunities to expand. And so I started to listen to popular music. Like I just started to listen to like industry stuff. Like, and this is 20, what is this? 2015 at the time, 2015, 16. And I'm listening to what was out at the time, and I'm like, okay, so these are the type of progressions people recognize. These are the sounds that people recognize. Okay, cool. Now I need to make this me. I need to make this Yaahn. So uh, I think what really brought it home was I did my homework. I mean,
Mm.
I studied their sound. Like I could hear their sound from like 1,000 miles away. Like if you know the Walls Group, they have a very keen sound. And I was just like, as soon as I came up with that progression, I was like, this just screams the Walls Group. It just, you know. And so when I tagged them, it wasn't like, hey, like it's like a regular fan. I wish I am a fan, by the way, but it's not like fan mail. It's like, no, there's an intent. Like this person tagged us, and I knew like if he ever heard 2 seconds of it, I knew it would be a wrap because like it's something about knowing someone else's ear and being able to pull someone's ear with what they're familiar with and also something that they may not have at that time, which is your uniqueness. So I think for producers that are coming up that you want the attention and the strategy that I took was homework and understanding the ear of that said artist and understanding like based on their track record like over the course of like what 10 songs, what is the most consistent thing that you can see or find or identify with within those 10 songs, whatever that one thing is. I don't like channel, but for lack of a better term, you channel or you concentrate on that one thing, you make that the core and then you build around it. And that's how you get eyes and ears and attention, like from the sonics, from the sound. Now visually, you know, things have changed. And this is kind of like more into where I'm at now with marketing yourself is you got to have visuals now. You get your phone, get your iPhone. If you got an iPhone, this is the very thing that separates you from where you are right now and where you want to be is this device.
Mm.
You can take this thing and change your life with it. It's up to you. So use your phone, set it up, get an iPhone stand. I usually put my phone like right here somewhere just so you can see me and the keyboard and go in. A lot of guys, like you said, a lot of guys are already fired. They got all the chords, they got the beats. Get your phone out, and make content that not only attracts those artists but inspires people. And that's bigger than a placement is inspiration. So that's my 2 cents on that.
No, that was good. So let me ask you this. Um, what is the YHunter Music brand? If you could describe what is the brand? Like what do you do and how and what words define actually who you actually are as a company?
Yeah, I would say vibes, inspiration, and education.
Vibes, inspiration, and education. All right.
Yeah.
So along that line, we know that you also you have a lot of products that you sell as well. You have
Yeah.
a lot of product. Every second I look up, I'm like, dang, he got another one.
Yeah.
I ain't even bought the first joint yet. Um, but with that said, so what do you think that you can bring? So this is kind of like a marketing pitch here. See, I'm trying to lay the but I'm trying to throw you the
I see you.
trying to throw you the oop, so you know what I'm saying. Well, what are the things that you as a brand can bring to people who may be interested in working with you, getting a song done from you, or if they were to purchase any of your products? What is like your guarantee from Yaahn Hunter himself? What's the guarantee that they get?
Guaranteed quality is my number one. Quality with speed, both because I've been doing it for so long and I've been sort of bred or like just so I've been molded for this, through the years of starting with church was like the foregrounds with musicianship. Then, going to school, being outside of a church setting and being around musicians in an even playing field. And then being around phenomenal artists and producers. So quality is the number one. I'm a big stickler. Those who know me, that know me, know me. I I'm a stickler for quality. One thing that I've done to put as an official stamp on my brand is like every time you see something, the quality is always going to be A1. If it's a bad quality situation, it won't even see the light of day on the internet. It's like, no, it's not going to happen. I'm going to make sure that, that quality is there, and searching for, and that's where the engineering side comes in, and mixing and stuff. That's where Berkeley definitely, is like a cheat move for engineers. If you go to Berkeley, your ear is just different. And my Berkeley family, y'all know what I'm talking about. Like certain classes, they train you to be frequency assassins, and literally annihilate problems like that. And so that's one of my main things as a brand that I try to make sure that any customer, whether you buy my products or you go to me for work for hire or whatever, is you're going to get industry standard quality. The next thing is like if you buy any of my products or anything like that, it's literally my ear and my hands that have sculptured and like a lot of the stuff that I do is handmade, and that's why I might charge a little more, a little less depending on the competition. But I think that's like the uniqueness about my products. Like they're not manufactured. It's not like it's pre-made whatever. And then, the clutch patches in particular that's for Logic Pro X, that is a little bit different. You sort of expect that because that's what it is. It's stock sounds that I go to and that you can find for yourself. So the source is what it is, but I'll throw something on it that wasn't there before, or I'll go into the sound and tweak it and do other stuff that most people wouldn't do, or take the time to do. And it's like, hey, here's 50 sounds that's already loaded up. If you're a Logic Pro S user, you can just pull up this and just 50 quality industry sounds where if you use any of them, RCA, Columbia, none of them are going to be like, that's a Logic sound. You're not getting the placement. They don't care. It just feels right and it sounds good. So like that's just an example of one of my MIDI products. It's just quality, and it's handcrafted where I'm going in and making sure that this is something I would use.
So let me ask you this. You work with a lot of artists. What is one of your pet peeves when working with artists? What are the things that grind your gears, or the things that you're just like, I hate going through this again? What's just give me like one or two if you can.
I think, I think the number one is trying to do my job. I think that's the number one is you're trying to literally do my job. Like you're hiring me to produce this thing or mix this thing, and when the critiques come back, it's like, well, then you could have done this yourself, because it's like we're chasing after something that maybe doesn't exist, and it may never come true. And my job is to make whatever is going on in your head and ideas you have is to bring that out, extract it, and bring it into tangible results. And I think when they try to produce the record for themselves and have you on there, it's just more of a validation instead of actually producing the record. That's not what the role of a producer is. You don't want to hire a producer for venting sessions, or shall I say validation sessions of what you're going to do at the end of the day. Like if you're going to do that, then you need to go do that yourself. If you're going to a producer to extract ideas that you cannot do, and that particular person they have potential to bring it out of you, then let them do that, and you're still driving the ship. It's just, you need to make sure that you're on one accord. Again, I guess it goes back into communication, but I think that's my number one pet peeve is artists trying to do my job and basically, use me for validation support.
That's so crazy that you said that. I did a video about communication in that regards, because it's like, hey, we understand you don't know what you want yet because it doesn't exist. But we need for you to do your very hardest to try to communicate to us exactly what you want. And then you leave us alone so we can try to give you exactly what you want. But what
Yeah.
we don't need for you to do is you try to get there with us in the passenger seat, as in like, hey, is this good? I can't validate anything you're doing because you asked for me to do it. So it's like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like it's a good marriage. Like I love when artists are vocal, because it lets me know where I know I'm gonna get feedback right away, and I love that. I don't like, it's cool, and then I find out you didn't like it in the end. It's like, I mean, you know, that's a whole nother situation. But I think that's like the main thing. I think what's helped turn that around was my mindset changed to like, well, are you a servant, or what do you think you're doing? You're still in the work of service.
right.
And once I took on that mindset, I started to, any clients that I may have had any potential issues with, and I never had any major issues with any clients, by the way, thank God. But if anything, I would say that made it smoother was like, Yaahn, like your job is to bring out their ideas,
Mm.
and you have to operate within these bounds. And it's one thing to be able to understand an artist's ear, but what happens if they don't have one? They don't have a sound. They don't have, because they're just starting out, so they don't have anything. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, so you have to allow them to instruct you on their references, what they listen to, and you have to get into their consumption ear instead of an artist ear, and try to find something that's close to what they're familiar with. And once I took on that servant attitude, I've never had any issues. Even with challenging clients, we never had any like fallout. We going back and forth, never, not once.
Wow, that's
Mhm.
crazy. And for everybody out there, if you are a producer, he says something very valuable. This is a service
Yeah,
based business. It is your job to say yes to a degree. It's your job to do whatever the person who has hired you to do for you
yeah,
to do it at the end of the
absolutely.
day. So it definitely is you definitely need some balance. You definitely need some balance. So let me ask you this. Where do you see yourself in the future? What people do you want to work with? Is there anybody who you want to work with? Anything that you kind of want to do business wise? What are the things down the line for you that you kind of see as technology's changing?
Yeah.
Facebook's even changing their name, and we God only knows what else is going to happen in the future, in the near future. But what are the things that you kind of see down the line that you want to get into, or do you see yourself doing?
Uh, Nowadays it's shifted completely. I'm more so interested with um working with other content creators that are, music based or even non-music based, and to be able to have these nuanced conversations, because there's one thing in common with all content creators is knowing how to connect with your I don't want to say fan base, but you connect with
Mhm.
your community mindset, and that kind of separates like a producer from like a real content creator itself. And in the past, I wanted to start a label and bring in a whole bunch of artists and stuff. And now more so like I want to expand this into some sort of network of training base to train producers to not just be producers, but to be more, and not in a bad way to degrade it, but more so what I mean is you need more chops now instead of just being able to produce. You need to be able to have some familiarity with how to shoot a video from your phone, how to edit a video, how to put together something like to create and put together a whole body of work in 30 seconds, a 30-second body of work, 15-second body of work to post on the internet. And I see so many musicians and producers that are missing out on opportunities that are more broad instead of a narrow focus. I think there's nothing wrong with wanting to work with your all-time favorite artist because, again, like I mentioned earlier, I still have that producer's dream, inside me, and it's never going to go away. It's always a producer's dream to hear that phenomenal artist on your track, kill it. The publishing is right. You win grant. Like we all have that, and that's fire. Um, there's more to be acquired. I think that's just the stumping grounds compared to like what's actually in store. So for me, is collaborating with other content creators and really diving in deep to help influence change in our musicians and producers community. Um, Another goal is to um, retire early and do it because I want to have fun instead of like, "Oh, I'm on the grind, man. We got to get this work in because we got to pay these bills." And it's like, no, the bills are paid. Like the bills will be paid for years on at a time. We're not concerned about bills. We're more so concerned about impact and influence and change and starting to realize that it's not about me anymore. Like it's about everyone else, whoever's watching this. Hopefully, they get some value out of this. People like yourself that are influencing and uh, being the leaders of change, and you know what I mean. Like I think that's more long term what I see myself doing. And if placements come along the way, hey, it's all good. I'm still down to work with artists, and I think on the other side of the coin, music based stuff, I actually want to win with some friends of mine, some really good friends of mine that I work very close with. That we don't bump heads. Like we don't. It's hard to explain. It's like hand in glove experiences that I have with certain friends of mine that I work with, and one artist in particular I'm going to be featuring a lot on my album that's to come next year, and I'm going to be having her on my sis Callie Bluebird. Um, if I want to win with an artist, it'll be with somebody like that. With a homie, a friend, a sister. She's good with my family, my wife, my daughter. She knows, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's who I want to win with. Everybody else who's already got their flowers and trophies and Grammys and stacks on stacks, man, man, congratulations. And you're where we're trying to get. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's more of a producer goal of mine is to win with some new faces and some good friends of mine.
Well, that's dope. So let me ask you this, and we're wrapping up soon, but let me ask you this. If you were to be known for one thing, what would that one thing be? That's it. One thing.
One thing I'll be known for?
Yeah.
Uh, I think it'd be character. I think it'll be character. Uh, I remember on my wedding day, in my vows to my wife, shout out to my wife, Tiffany Hunter. I remember on my wedding day, I wrote my vows. I had in my vows, I said, I want to be known for character before any of the other stuff, musicianship and all that. I want to be known for a man of character because when I when you've experienced what my wife and I have experienced, and I'm sure other people have, like bad character. Like it doesn't matter how beautiful you are, how handsome you are, how
Yeah.
if that character is not popping, like it's a turn off, and it just and you'll find like they'll be very successful, but they don't have certain things like essential things, basic things, and people you become a marketing tool. Well, we got to go through them because that's where the money is. But once we make our money, then you're alone. And so it's like uh above all that, be a man of character. I'm a firm believer in God, Christian base, church background. That's never going to change. And so It'll be character for sure.
Well, man, listen, I just want to say thank you so much for jumping on here with me. Thank you for pouring back into the community, shedding some light on uh, just basically who you are as a person, but then also some of the things that other musicians and producers can also do to actually better themselves. If somebody were to reach out to you or if they were trying to find you, where do we go?
Everything's YHunter Music. The letter Y, last name Hunter, and music spelled the normal way. YHunter Music is Yaahn Hunter Music. My tagline is "That's Hunter." So I'm going through a whole rebranding thing, and so still dealing with that. But everything is still at YHunter Music anywhere: Twitter, TikTok, YouTube. Everything's /YHunter Music or at YHunter Music. YHuntermusic.com for products and booking and all that stuff. YHuntermusic.com. But yeah.
All right, cool. So for everybody who's watching this YouTube, I'll leave everything that he just said in the description below, so you can be sure to reach out to him, find him very easy. And hey, before we leave, I want you to leave the people with one last word of wisdom. Anything that's on your heart, anything that's on your mind, something that could encourage somebody. What do you want to tell them?
I would say for musicians and producers and all of us, we're all in this game together. I think what I would say is to continue to build your foundation work, build up the chops that you need to be able to be in the game. Take your craft seriously. I know all this stuff sounds cliche, but in a real life scenario, which I've seen on Clubhouse, I've witnessed people who have had the tagline in their bio, producer, engineer. And we were in the room with some RCA executives and some people from Pixar and some people from Columbia. And there were some people in the room that were not ready. They were not ready. They asked them, "What records have you produced and what records have you mixed?" And the response was, "Oh, I haven't touched anything yet. I'm just getting my feet wet. You know what I'm saying? And and they're like, why are you in the room?" So this cliche stuff that you hear people saying, perfect your craft, practice. No, you really do, because this is the age where people are being exposed. People are posting videos on Instagram of them doing one thing, and then they get in the room with the people who caused them, and they find out, yo, you're still trying to learn the basics of your DAW, of your digital audio workstation. You're still trying to figure out how to work your MIDI in Logic and in FL Studio. You don't know how to drag sounds in and create your own instrument. Like, this stuff is real. So I think we have to really get to the basics of first build up the core chops, build up the foundation. So when an opportunity comes your way, you're not only prepared, but you're ready to exceed their expectations, and you be able to speak and communicate, what's on your mind and what's on your heart, and be a good communicator. Build up these foundational chops, because believe it or not, like, these chops are now scarce skills. I can't believe I'm saying this in 2021 going into 2022. Is scarce skills is communication. Knowing your DAW, knowing your recording software, and being able to actually deliver what you claim to deliver. So, for my people that's already there, keep doing your thing. You already put in the work. I promise you, we're in that season where exposure is happening on both ends, for people who are not ready and for people who are more than prepared. And I'm seeing a lot of people win right now. I'm seeing so many brand deals and partnerships and placements. So keep your head up. The people are going to see you if you keep putting yourself out there, your SOS, posting your content, and doing what you're supposed to do. All the best things are coming your way.
Hey man, I couldn't have said that no better. Be careful what you pray for, because you might just get it. So once again,
Exactly.
I go by the name of Keith Keys. Thank you for joining me. If you would, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, hit the like button, go follow Yaahn. Go check out the links in the description below, and we'll see you in
Appreciate it.
another video.